Have you ever judged someone based on how they look, without knowing a single thing about who they really are? Welcome to Dream Tale, where every story reminds us that even the quietest people can carry the loudest truths. If you're visiting for the first time, make sure to like, share, and subscribe because the story you're about to hear might just change the way you see the world. Today's tale is about a woman named Monica, a humble waitress in a small-town diner. She doesn't say much. She doesn't seek attention. But her scars do. Visible marks on her neck and arms. Wounds that invite stares, whispers, and too often cruel judgment. Some call her strange. Others call her dangerous. But no one dares to ask what happened. That is, until one day, a rude, wealthy customer loudly mocks her in front of the entire diner. He laughs, calls her names, even suggests she has a criminal past. And just when it seems no one will defend her, an elderly man, sitting quietly in the corner, slowly stands. He sees something no one else does. A tattoo, faded but distinct, on Monica's arm. It's a military unit insignia. One he knows very well, because it was his. In that moment, the diner falls silent. Because the truth about Monica, the woman everyone mocked, is about to unfold. And what this old veteran says next leaves the entire room speechless. This story matters because we live in a world where people are judged at first glance. Where strength is too often overlooked when it's wrapped in silence and pain. But this tale is a reminder that every scar tells a story, and some scars belong to heroes. So get ready for a powerful journey, one that reveals the true weight of sacrifice, the courage to stay silent, and the day a hero was finally recognized in the most unexpected way. Let's begin. The sun had barely risen over the sleepy little town when Monica unlocked the door to the diner. It was the kind of place that hadn't changed in decades: chrome stools, faded menus, and a regular crowd that preferred their coffee strong and their conversation predictable. Monica, the only black waitress on staff, had worked here for 3 years. She was known for being polite, fast, and dependable. Never late. Never complaining. Never causing trouble. And yet, she was a mystery to almost everyone. Her uniform always covered as much skin as it could. Long sleeves in summer, high collars in heat waves. But no matter how much she tried, some scars still peeked through. A jagged line across her neck. Circular burns near her wrists. Thin, pale slashes that told silent stories. People noticed, but no one asked. Instead, they whispered. A couple of regulars speculated she was a former prisoner. One customer said he bet she'd been in a gang. Another claimed she had survived some sort of accident, but added, "Still, it's creepy. She should cover that up." Even the other waitresses, while not unkind, kept their distance. They'd invite each other out for drinks after their shifts but never included Monica. It wasn't hatred. It was discomfort. A kind of invisible wall her silence and scars built without meaning to. But Monica didn't mind. She moved through each shift with quiet grace. She always smiled when customers walked in. She remembered every regular's order. She never lost her temper, never sighed out loud even when someone was rude. She seemed like a woman determined to be invisible, to be efficient, respectful, but not noticed. Still, there were moments, rare, fleeting ones, when the mask cracked. Once, a little boy accidentally spilled hot chocolate across the floor. His mother screamed, flustered. The cup shattered. Monica rushed over, knelt beside the child, and whispered something that made him smile. Her hands moved quickly and gently, like she'd done this before, like she knew what panic felt like and how to calm it. Another time, when a teenage girl had a breakdown in the restroom, it was Monica who slipped inside, stayed with her, and brought her back out, composed and quietly grateful. She never took credit. She never expected thanks. But the scars, they were always there. A silent question no one had the courage or compassion to ask. That was until one day when a stranger walked in. A man who didn't just see her scars, he recognized them. But before that twist of fate, Monica had to face something uglier than whispers. She had to stand before cruelty, the kind that doesn't care who you are or what you've survived. And it came in the form of a customer who thought he owned the room. It was just after the breakfast rush when the diner doors swung open with a loud clang. A man in an expensive suit stepped inside like he owned the place. Behind him, 2 younger men followed, clearly business associates, each dressed to impress and trying hard to match the arrogance of the man leading them. His name was Mr. Harlan, a wealthy real estate developer from the city, in town to inspect some properties. He had the confidence of someone who believed money gave him power, and the attitude of someone who never expected to be challenged. As Monica approached their booth, notepad in hand and smile in place, Mr. Harlan gave her a look. A long, deliberate one. "You all must be desperate if you're letting that serve food," he said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. The two men with him chuckled awkwardly. Monica didn't flinch. She stood silently, pen ready. "What can I get for you today, sir?" she asked, voice calm. He didn't answer her question. Instead, he kept his eyes on her arms. The sleeve of her shirt had slipped just enough to reveal a part of the scarred tattoo near her wrist. "You know, when I was growing up," he sneered, "people like you covered that kind of thing up. It's not exactly appetizing, sweetheart." A hush fell over the nearby tables. Forks paused midair. One of the waitresses behind the counter turned away, pretending to clean a mug. No one said a word. Still, Monica didn't react. "I'll be back with your water," she said gently and turned to walk away. "Wait," Mr. Harlan said. "Let me guess, you used to run with some gang? Or maybe those are burn marks from meth labs gone wrong." The words hit like darts. His voice was playful but venomous. The kind that tries to disguise cruelty as humor. Monica stopped mid-step but didn't turn around. "I bet you have quite a story," he added, grinning. "Or maybe a record." The entire diner sat in stunned silence. Some looked down. Others watched Monica, waiting for her to crack. But she didn't. She calmly placed the waters at their table without a word and walked back to the kitchen. Mr. Harlan laughed and clapped his hands like he'd just won something. But he hadn't noticed the man in the corner. The older man with silver hair and worn boots. The one who had been watching everything. Especially the moment Monica placed the glass of water down and her sleeve lifted just enough to reveal a very familiar tattoo. His eyes narrowed. His expression hardened. Because he had seen that tattoo before. And it had once saved his life. At a booth in the far corner, a quiet man in his late 60s slowly set down his coffee. His name was Jack Brenner, a retired Army sergeant who had seen more in one lifetime than most people could in 10. He hadn't come in for drama. Just a hot breakfast and maybe a refill on his black coffee. But from the moment he walked in, he noticed Monica, and more importantly, the way everyone reacted to her. He wasn't the type to get involved in strangers' business. Not anymore. But when Mr. Harlan started mocking her, something stirred. A mix of anger, disbelief, and recognition. Jack's eyes locked on the partially exposed tattoo on Monica's wrist. It wasn't just ink. It was a badge of survival. A faded yet unmistakable symbol of Bravo Unit 3 to 4, a covert operations team deployed in Afghanistan years ago. And there was no mistaking it. That tattoo had a line cut through the middle, indicating a soldier who had been wounded in combat. Not just any wound, one serious enough to nearly kill. Jack's heart stopped. There had only been one woman in that unit. One woman who had dragged 3 of them out of an ambush while bleeding from her own injuries. She was a legend, young, fearless, and silent about her pain. He remembered her collapsing after saving them all. He remembered the screaming, the gunfire, the smoke, and the scars she carried afterward. Could it be her? He stood slowly, his knees stiff but his eyes steady. The diner had fallen back into its uncomfortable buzz. Mr. Harlan was still laughing with his associates, casually sipping his drink. Monica was by the kitchen, wiping down a tray like nothing had happened. Jack approached her with quiet steps, stopping just beside her. His voice low but firm. "Excuse me, miss, what unit were you with?" Monica froze. Her eyes lifted cautiously. Jack nodded toward her tattoo. "That's a Bravo 3 to 4 mark. And I don't know many who wear it unless they earned it." Her eyes studied him for a second. Most people saw an old man. But she saw it immediately, the stance, the way he stood, the weight in his gaze. "A soldier. Charlie Company," she said softly. "Kandahar." Jack's throat tightened. It was her. "You carried me out of that ambush," he whispered. "You don't remember, do you? My leg was half gone. I thought I was dead. And then I saw you dragging me through the sand." For the first time that morning, Monica's eyes showed emotion. Just a flicker. Bang. Recognition. And then she nodded once, slowly. Mr. Harlan, now curious, looked over. "What's this old-timer? She rescue you from a soup line?" Jack turned. His voice was sharp, unwavering. "She's a war hero, you arrogant fool. She's the reason I'm still breathing." The diner fell dead silent. Everyone turned. Every eye was on Monica. And for the first time, someone saw her, not as a scarred woman, but as a soldier. The past came rushing back to Monica the moment Jack spoke those words. Kandahar. 2011. The desert sun was merciless. The air dry and humming with tension. Monica wasn't always quiet. Back then, she was Staff Sergeant Monica James, the only woman in her Special Ops unit, and one of the most respected. She didn't talk much even then, but when she did, people listened. Her team had been on a recon mission when it happened. A routine patrol turned into a nightmare. An ambush. The sound of machine gun fire echoed through the canyon walls. The Humvee exploded before they even had a chance to radio for backup. Dust and flames swallowed the sky. Screams pierced the chaos. Monica had been thrown from the blast, ribs cracked, ears ringing. But she didn't freeze. She crawled. Toward the wreckage. Toward her brothers in arms. Toward the voices calling for help. One by one she dragged them out, bullets slicing through the dirt just inches from her hands. She didn't think. She just moved. Jack was the last one. His leg was shredded from the knee down. He was barely conscious. "I remember your voice," Jack had once told her during recovery. "You kept saying, 'I got you. Don't you quit on me.'" She had thrown smoke grenades to cover their retreat and held her rifle steady until the evac chopper arrived. She didn't wait for thanks. She passed out before the blades touched down. The explosion left her with burns across her shoulder, neck, and arms. Shrapnel had scarred her skin. The nightmare scarred her deeper. She was honorably discharged, awarded the Bronze Star, and recommended for a Purple Heart. But the medals didn't heal what the war left behind. The stares, the sleepless nights, the haunting memories, they never stopped. So she disappeared. She moved to a quiet town where no one knew her name. Took a job pouring coffee instead of carrying a rifle. Found peace in silence. Dignity in simplicity. But she never stopped carrying her scars. She never covered the tattoo, faded now but still there. A symbol of what she'd given. What she'd survived. What she'd lost. And now that tattoo had found her again, recognized by the very man whose life she'd saved. She looked at Jack, standing proud and strong despite his limp, and nodded. "Didn't think anyone would ever remember," she said quietly. "I never forgot," he replied. Behind them, Mr. Harlan looked more confused than ever. "What are you talking about?" Jack turned slowly. "I'm talking about the woman you mocked. The one who ran into gunfire while men like you would have run away. She didn't earn those scars in a fight. She earned them in a war." And just like that, the story changed. The woman they all ignored was no longer invisible. She was a hero. The diner was silent. You could hear the soft hum of the ceiling fan and the distant clink of a spoon on a saucer. But no one spoke. No one moved. All eyes were on the elderly veteran standing tall in the middle of the room. Jack turned to face Mr. Harlan, who still wore a smirk, though it was starting to twitch at the corners. "Let me spell it out for you," Jack said, voice firm, words sharp as steel. "This woman risked her life in a war zone. She pulled 3 wounded men, including me, out of a burning vehicle under live fire. And while you sit here running your mouth, she's out here working quietly, with more dignity than you'll ever understand." Harlan scoffed. "A waitress? Come on. Sounds like some war story you made up for pity." Jack didn't flinch. "You ever heard of Operation Dustfall? Kandahar, 2011? Harlan didn't respond. A few people in the diner nodded. Veterans, family members, people who remembered seeing it on the news. "She didn't brag about it. Didn't wave flags or expect praise," Jack continued. "She came home, scarred inside and out, and just wanted to live her life. But instead of respect, she gets mocked by people like you." Someone in the back murmured, "That's messed up." Another woman near the counter stood up. "She served this country? And we've been treating her like this." Monica shifted, uncomfortable with the attention. She didn't want applause. She didn't even want recognition. But she also didn't shrink away. "I don't need a standing ovation," she said softly, addressing the room. "I didn't do anything special. I just did my job." Jack turned back to her. "You did more than that. You saved lives. You carried us out when no one else could." And for the first time since she started working there, someone clapped. Then another. And another. The entire diner slowly rose to their feet, offering something Monica never asked for: respect. Even the cook leaned out from the kitchen. "Didn't know we had a real hero working here." Mr. Harlan looked around, suddenly small in a room where he had once dominated. "I didn't know." "You didn't care to know," Jack snapped. "That's the difference." Harlan stood, tossed a few bills on the table, and stormed out, embarrassed and exposed. Monica watched him leave, then turned to Jack. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did," he said. "Because silence isn't respect. And you've been silent long enough." The diner settled again, but something had changed. The air felt different. Lighter. Warmer. The scars on Monica's skin were still there. But now, people finally saw past them. The clapping faded, replaced by a silence that felt almost reverent. For the first time, Monica stood at the center of a room full of people who had looked past her for years, and now saw her clearly. But she didn't bask in the moment. No proud grin, no triumphant pose. Just a calm breath, steady eyes, and the same quiet strength she'd always carried. One of the younger waitresses walked over, eyes wide. "Why didn't you ever tell us?" Monica smiled gently. "Because I wasn't looking for sympathy. Or attention. I just wanted peace." Behind her, Jack stood tall, arms crossed, watching her like a proud father might. Mr. Harlan had long since left the diner, but the damage he'd tried to do had already been repaired, not with rage but with grace. The same people who once whispered about Monica now seemed embarrassed, fumbling with apologies, compliments, and thank yous. A mother with 2 kids walked over and said, "I tell my daughter to be strong. I didn't realize I had an example sitting right here all along." Monica's expression softened. Being strong isn't about showing off. It's about surviving what should have broken you. Then she turned to Jack and held out her hand. "I didn't think anyone would recognize me. That part of my life feels like it happened to someone else." Jack shook her hand, his grip firm. "No, it happened to you. And it made you stronger, not smaller. Don't ever forget that." One of the regulars, the same man who once speculated about her scars, cleared his throat awkwardly. I was wrong about you. I'm sorry." Monica didn't hold it against him. She didn't need revenge or harsh words. She simply nodded and said, "Sometimes we judge what we don't understand. But understanding starts with listening." Pause. Then she added, "I'm not ashamed of my scars. I earned them. They tell a story, not of pain but of survival." That line hit the room like lightning. Even those who had never spoken to her directly now looked at her with admiration. Not because she was a soldier or because she had saved lives, but because she had endured quietly when no one was watching. That's what true strength looks like. The shift in energy was undeniable. Monica didn't become someone else in their eyes, she simply revealed who she had always been. Not a victim. Not someone broken. But a woman who had been through hell and come out whole. And without fanfare she went back to work. She poured coffee. Cleared tables. Took orders. But every interaction was different now. People looked her in the eyes. Said thank you with meaning. Treated her not like a background character, but like a person worth knowing. Because heroes don't always wear medals. Sometimes they wear aprons. And carry trays. And move through the world with a kind of quiet grace that leaves a permanent mark on everyone they meet. The story of what happened that morning at the diner spread through the town faster than wildfire. By the next day, people who had never even set foot inside were coming in just to see her. Not to stare at her scars, but to meet the woman who had worn them with such silent pride. The waitress who had once blended into the background was now the face everyone wanted to know. But Monica hadn't changed. She still showed up early. Still tied her apron the same way. Still kept her tone calm, her words measured. She accepted the new attention with grace but never chased it. The diner's owner, after hearing the full story from Jack and several regulars, called a short staff meeting. "I think we owe Monica more than just a thank you," he said. "We owe her our respect, and our recognition." And that's how, 1 week later, the town diner added something new to its wall, right between the best pancakes and county certificate and the old Route 17 map. A small bronze plaque. Read. "In honor of Staff Sergeant Monica James. For her bravery in service. And her quiet strength at home. Scars are proof that we survived." Customers paused to read it. Veterans saluted it. Kids asked about it. And Monica? She simply smiled and kept moving. One afternoon, a young girl approached her while she refilled salt shakers. The girl was maybe 16, with nervous eyes and a tremble in her voice. "Is it true, you were a soldier?" Monica nodded. "Yes." "Was it scary?" Monica looked at her kindly. "Sometimes. But you don't get through fear by avoiding it. You get through it by facing it." The girl hesitated. Then asked, "Do you think someone like me could do that? Be that brave?" Monica smiled. "I think someone like you already is." Moments like that became more common. People came not just for food, but for her presence. For what she represented: quiet courage. Survival without bitterness. Dignity in the face of judgment. And though Monica never sought to be a symbol, in her humility she became one. Not for her past as a soldier, but for how she carried it forward. Not every hero wears a uniform forever. Some trade it for a diner apron. Some serve not on battlefields but behind counters, still carrying the weight of battles fought long ago. Monica never asked for recognition. She didn't need applause or pity. She simply wanted a life of peace, away from the noise of war and the expectations of others. But in choosing silence, she was misunderstood, judged, mocked. Until one moment changed everything. When someone chose to speak up. When someone recognized her story, not just her scars. And maybe that's the lesson we all need to take with us. Because how many people do we pass by each day, at a coffee shop, a grocery store, walking down the street, without ever wondering what they've been through, what they've survived? We judge what we don't understand. We mock what makes us uncomfortable. We avoid what doesn't fit our idea of normal. But every scar, visible or hidden, is part of someone's survival. A memory, a moment, a fight. And sometimes, those who carry the most pain also carry the most strength. Monica's story is powerful because it reminds us of the quiet warriors. The people who've been through unimaginable things and still choose kindness. Still choose dignity. They don't ask to be seen as heroes. But they deserve to be. So the next time you meet someone different, someone quiet, someone scarred, someone you don't understand, remember Monica. Remember that courage doesn't always speak loudly. Sometimes it simply shows up. Every day. Without needing validation. Thank you for watching this episode of Dream Tale. If Monica's story moved you, inspired you, or made you reflect, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful true-to-life stories that touch the heart. And we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever misjudged someone only to later learn who they truly were? Drop your story in the comments. We read every one, and your voice might inspire someone else. Until next time, remember this. The strongest people often carry the quietest pain. And sometimes, the scars you judge belong to someone who once saved lives. This is Dream Tale, where every scar has a story.